Hey everybody, Sean from Invest to Live, and I've got kind of a fun one today for you. Uh, Probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, my wife came to me and said, "Hey, I'd like to get a Peloton bike," and I know they were really expensive. And I said, "Sure, let me look into it and find out what it costs and what the deal with it is," and I'll show you that in a second here. One thing I want to really point out was the way that I like to think about stocks and investing and making income, and how I apply that income sometimes to interesting use cases, and how I have a little bit of fun with it, and helps me sort of just continuously learn more, learn how to engage in stocks in different ways, learn how to generate income for real world expenses. First and foremost, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We really appreciate it, and it helps us get out to more people to view the videos. And as well as, I'm not your financial advisor, so please take this as entertainment and education only. I'm not providing investment advice, merely just giving some things that I like to do and what works for me personally. So as I was saying, Peloton bikes are pretty expensive, and I'm going to share my screen in a second here and talk it through. But I think that it's really important to look at investing for the long run, thinking about retirement, how we save money over time, how we invest for long-term returns. But I also like to look at it as well as a way to replace some of my income, a way to find affordability in the things that I want to do. There's certain things that I'll approach in my trading that are really meant for just for short term, where I'm trying to generate some cash, and that cash can be used for vacations, buying a Peloton, perhaps it's things around the house or a car that I need to take care of. Although my main priority is building towards, larger financial freedom or retirement, or whatever the case may be, there are certainly things that sometimes I want to generate some income for. So the real point I'm going to get into today is how I leverage the stock PTON, Peloton stock, and I use the sale of puts short term to generate the cash to buy the bike. And I do this with a lot of interesting things around my house and in my life as well, where I think about a product that we may want or need, and I try to think about, is there a way I can uniquely generate some income from that underlying stock? Now, to be clear, I'm not saying this is the best way to do it, and in fact, a lot of times it isn't. I just happen to be someone who's really interested in overall in the markets and sort of personal finance in general, and I like to try to find unique and fun angles to kind of play into it. So I like to think of it as how I got Peloton stock to buy me a Peloton. Really with just a couple of clicks of a mouse and a little bit of research. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen because I want to show you how this whole journey started here. So let me load this up here. So this was initially the website, as you can imagine, I came on, right? I hit up Peloton, went to the bikes, and really frankly had no idea what it was going to cost me. The most I really knew about Peloton was the commercials from 6 months, 12 months ago that had a lot of controversy with the young lady who looked very unhappy on her Peloton. But other than that, I really didn't know much about it. I just know that it's a bike, it's pretty expensive, and it seems to be based on a SaaS platform. But those are things that I know a lot about, right? Hardware and SaaS. So when I checked this out, I will admit I was a little blown away at the cost, but everything I've read about it, they're high quality, they really work well, people seem to really enjoy having it. And of course, as my wife pointed out, they're running some sort of a special, so I said, sure, let me look into it. So as you can see here, this bike is just around $1,900 to purchase. Like all these things, they have the monthly payment plans and all that stuff, but I'm not really interested in doing that. I want to understand how I can build up the cash to buy this through my trading. And even with 0% financing, that's just not what we're talking about today. That's a whole nother conversation. So started with this idea that's about $1,900. So the first thing I think about is, do I have enough volatility in the options or the underlying price to get a good spread when I'm selling put options in this case? Now, just to be really clear, a put option is essentially when I am selling to the marketplace an option to purchase at a certain price, and I am paid a premium for putting that option out there. This is different than when you buy a put or buy a call. In essence, what I'm really doing is I am charging a fee in the form of premium to give you the insurance to buy based on what you think is going to happen in the underlying stock. For me, this is a path that I've used for many years, in fact, decades, frankly. And I really spend a lot of time in understanding the volatility, the risk. I also have a number of exit plans. That's a video that would be much longer and more in depth than this. But just to set the bar, before you do anything like that, make sure you understand the risk of selling puts, what can happen if the stock suddenly moves against you, and also the ways you can get out of it and generate income in other ways, or just exit the trade in general. But for the sake of what we're talking about, I want to keep it really simple. In essence, I want to buy at a price that gives me enough breathing room where it's likely not to be executed on, and I'm still getting a pretty good premium. So let's just take a quick look at the stock price as well while we have it here. This is as of the close on March 5th. Peloton was trading at about 105. I closed my last and final put call actually this past Friday, the 5th. I had actually put the put on for $101. Now, funny enough, during the day, the stock, Peloton stock actually had dumped a little bit below that 101 mark. I've been doing this for a long time. I had no concerns about it. So what I actually did is I doubled down at the low point of the day and bought real Peloton stock as sort of almost an anchor that I want to stick in the ground. I just looking at the technicals and the way the stock was moving, I felt like we were hitting a low, but for no real reason in this particular day. Typical Friday sell-off. So what I ended up buying for shares also ended up going back up to 105. And then additionally, I got out of the put option with full premium and an expiration of no value. So that's what I've been doing for a couple of weeks is I'm looking at the price over short-term periods. I like to trade weekly puts in the case of a Peloton. And typically I like to do this in general anytime I'm looking at something more volatile like a Peloton, for example. So as you can see, the price is around $105. What I was getting was somewhere between, depending on the size of the trade and per contract, you know, depending on the level of risk I want to put on as well, somewhere between like $200 and $500 per trade per contract. So each contract, of course, one put contract is for 100 shares. So basically, after a couple of weeks of doing, excuse me, after a couple of weeks of doing this, generated the just about $2,000 to do it. I also found out, funny enough, that I had to buy apparently special shoes to ride a bike of this style, which I definitely did not know about. And I will say too, I'm not endorsed in any way or sponsored or have any affiliation with Peloton. But you know, hey, I want to, you know, happy wife, happy life. So I was trying to do something good here and find a way to pay for it that really wouldn't cost me anything except for about 20 or 30 minutes of research, understanding the right places to put my puts here. And really the point of what I want to talk about today, as you can kind of tell, is you can invest in trade in ways that are sort of just kind of a little more fun, but you can learn a lot about how to do it and what it means when you do it. So, you know, in this case, we had something we wanted to purchase for the house. I wanted to think of a unique way that I could generate the income to buy it without having to take it out of my investments or savings or my paycheck or whatever, put it on a credit card or finance it. And this is just a technique I've done for many years. So what I would say is don't necessarily go out and do this because there can be a lot of risk if you don't understand what you're doing and how to do it the appropriate way. But maybe just as part of a general approach to learning about the markets, pick some products around your house or maybe a particular thing that you want to go on, a vacation where you're going to fly in a certain type of plane or a cruise on a certain cruise line. And I know right now with COVID, that's not likely, but just think about like the pieces of the puzzle to getting to that end point and what stocks are associated with those pieces. Is it an airline? Is it a car company? Is it some particular type of siding for your house that's made by a brand that's public? And just for fun, dig into that stock and look at the opportunity. You know, do you think it's going to go up or down? Is it trading in a zone? Does it move much? Does it have a good dividend? And these are just great ways to start to learn markets in a new and unique way. Kind of as a final point, if you're still watching, and I hope you are, one of the things I'd like to do is ask my kids who are a bit younger what they think about things. And what I find, and this is a great exercise, and this goes to this idea of doing alternative research, is oftentimes I can ask someone who's 10 years old what they think about some new video games or Roblox or Fortnite or Nintendo or Sony for PlayStation, right? And I get really great feedback that's right from the horse's mouth in a lot of ways because they're experiencing these products in a very different way than we do when we look at it from a research perspective, right? They can understand like, hey, has there been a lot more people chatting? Are the chat rooms blowing up? Are you noticing that more people are engaging in the games? This is something I'm doing right now with Roblox where I'm actually watching my son play and looking to see how busy the different games are, how many new games are popping out, what kind of spend it takes to play the games and what that spend equates into dollars. And I'm just trying to extrapolate growth rates for different kind of products that I don't frankly know much about. And this is where you get to have some of the fun with this, is it doesn't have to be just another day of staring at charts or waiting for some update or waiting for CNBC to flip-flop in their opinions from one day to the next. So look, the story of the video was I got a Peloton essentially for free for clicking a couple buttons based on a little bit of research. And I frankly think you guys can do the same thing, whether it's grabbing a sandwich at McDonald's because you made a couple bucks on a good trade and some dividends, or like a previous video when I was looking at how to generate enough dividends from Starbucks to get coffee for free for life. So I would encourage you, have a lot of fun with the way you research and invest and trade. Always keep your eyes on those long-term goals. But, you know, don't be afraid to understand how to generate income in the short term, especially, and really I want to double down on this, especially with the movements I'm seeing on social media the past probably 5 to 10 years, very heavy around financial independence and retiring early. It's not just about savings. You have to generate income, and you have to figure out ways to generate income with low risk and understand what those risks are and how to mitigate them. So without further ado, thanks so much for watching. My wife is going to make me get on this thing, which I'm sure is going to be tough, but maybe you'll see some pounds start to fall off in the coming months. If you have any questions or want to learn more about these topics, please throw it in the comments below. I can go deep really on any of these topics you'd like here. I'm a very experienced trader and investor, as well as understanding the market mechanics in a very deep way. So please hit me up on anything you think would be interesting to learn about. And otherwise, have a great day and good luck out there. Maybe you'll get a Peloton too.